Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. So I hope everyone's doing good. It is Tuesday at about 10:45. Kind of a cold morning, but the sun is out, so that's good at least. Had a lot of gray days, uh, rain, and we had some snow and some sleet yesterday. It was kind of strange, but I hope everyone's doing good. So yeah, today's gonna be, again, like I've said, I try to bring a lot of variety to the channel. Want to welcome aboard. We got some new subscribers that came on board the last few days, so very cool. People keep commenting on the videos, which is really awesome. I love that interaction, especially with people I don't haven't really met, and I only know through, or have only somewhat gotten to know them through our correspondence back and forth through the comment sections. I love hearing all kinds of different opinions. Super cool. The one of the coolest things recently, I've been in contact with a gentleman from England, 42nd Street Forever, and he's got this amazing YouTube channel. I discovered it from watching a YouTube channel that I usually watch, which is pretty much my favorite YouTube channel, and that is Moods 616. And he is a Canadian YouTube guy, and he specializes pretty much in the world of exploitation. He does cover all kinds of movies and multiple genres, but for the most part, when it comes to all things exploitation, your horror exploitation, sex exploitation, American, European, Italian, he is a specialist. He really does some amazing work, some of the most comprehensive work. I have discovered so many amazing films through his channel. It's brought me back to rediscovering movies of my youth. It's really helped and also really been a pivotal thing in how I do this channel, as far as what I want to cover, the movies I want to cover, and the focus. My main thing that I love is the world of exploitation. So I usually try to focus on that. Like that's my jam. That's my favorite genre. I love all kinds of other styles, and so I try to bring those too. But the main thing is the exploitation, and I've gained a lot of knowledge and just been exposed to so many great films through his channel. Films from my youth, rediscovering them, and then discovering all these new directors on both sides. Directors that I knew of when I was a kid, rediscovering them now, which opens up you go down that rabbit hole, and it opens up all these other possibilities. His Moods 616, he did a video recently where he had it's an amazing show, and it's like a 2.5 hour show, and he went and he basically he hadn't posted a video in about 8 months. So he did this huge uh, movie haul. He went out over the last 8 months. He buys huge amounts of movies, and he basically did a whole big show with all of his purchases over the last 8 months. So it's insane. It took me about three different watches to get through it. It's great. It's amazing. One of the coolest things that he did, though, was that he recommended people check out this guy that he really that he kind of looks up to, and that is 42nd Street Forever. So I checked out his channel, and I was blown away by this guy's channel. This guy has, I think, out of all the YouTube people I've been checking out, and guys and girls that I like, and there's a select, very small group of people that I really like, but there's so many to choose from, and there's a lot of variety. But out of all of my new discoveries and and whatnot, his channel, 42nd Street Forever, is the best thing going right now, as far as I'm concerned. If you're into the murky world of exploitation. It is just the best. I mean, he's so knowledgeable about the entire genre, all of these directors. His collection is jaw dropping. So I've been kind of obsessively watching his videos. I've actually corresponded with him. I've commented on a few of his videos, and he's gotten back to me. And we were talking about maybe I would love to have him as a guest on the on Film Fanatic. You know, we could do like a radio or like a phone or video interview. I threw it out there, and he responded to me the next day saying he would definitely love to do something like that. So stay tuned to to for a show uh, with 42nd Street Forever, who will be coming on Film Fanatic as a guest. It will be, I think, it'll be great because he's so, he could be teaching, at a college level, like a college level course on the history of exploitation in films for the film genre that I love the most. And because his knowledge is just profound, and he is hilarious. He's super entertaining, really great, just amazing. The best new discovery. Highly recommend it. But anyway, it's funny because this show is going to be not about a movie. This isn't. I'm not going to be covering any movie or movies in this video. This is another like just kind of a general talk about some things that have been on my mind as far as my appreciation for movies, and also this channel, and kind of the direction of this channel. And it's a funny thing, and it's, I don't know, maybe it says, or maybe it speaks volumes as to like why on one main front or focus as to why I'm such a nerd. I don't know. But again, these are things that like at the surface they're not very serious. They're not like there's obviously way more important things to think about and to spend your time thinking about, or weighing out the options, like actual serious things. And it's kind of silly because at the end of the day, it's just they're just movies. But that being said, movies mean the world to me. They are an endless source of fun and entertainment, and an endless source of uh, personal inspiration, and also artistic inspiration. So, and I've talked all about that extensively musically for my band Quantum, and then for me, I just it acts like a fuel for me. So, and again, this is something that's been on my head, been in my brain for a while, and the last week or so, it got really, really strong, and I started really thinking about it more and more, and it like almost came to a crossroads. Even though I don't think I probably won't take that step, just because I don't know, I really love so many different styles of films, but because it keeps coming up, I figured I would talk about it. And so the whole thing is about. So recently, I just went to Goodwill. I went to Goodwill in Rockland on this past Sunday, and I got a bunch of great movies. And I've talked about this a lot, but I divide up. I don't know, I'm pretty meticulous when it comes to buying movies, but then I also like to keep it really loose and informal. Sometimes I will go to certain places with, one or two definite ideas of a movie that I want to buy. And usually they have them. And then the rest, I'll usually just go, with kind of the seat of my pants mentality. I like to just, it's like the whole crate diving. You just love it's the experience of diving into a rack of movies or big giant display of movies, and discovering things. That to me, that's the most enjoyable part of being a film fanatic, if you will, and then definitely being as far as being a collector of movies. But so typically, when I go to Bull Moose Music, which is my favorite place, I go there and I typically always try to seek out the most obscure, the most low down and dirty, collection of horror exploitation movies that I can find. Whether they're crime exploitation movies, horror exploitation movies, giallos, anything in that kind of world. I usually always set out to get those kinds of movies that I saw when I was a kid, or movies that I saw, in passing. And lately, it's been really about discovering all tons of movies I've never seen. And I usually just go there with a very open mind, and I've just been blown away by the amazing titles that I've gotten. And I've discovered so many new things. And then typically when I go to Goodwill, they typically have the more big budget Hollywood films. I love Hollywood, big budget films, big time like Hollywood directors. You know, I they have when it comes to that style of films, they have an amazing assortment. So I divide it up that way, and I've been super happy on both fronts. And I went to Goodwill on Sunday, and I got a ton of movies that were, I was blown away by the selection that they had, and I was super excited. And so, and then the week before last, I had gone to Bull Moose in Bangor and got a ton of really killer exploitation movies. Movies that I'd been wanting to get, same kind of thing, same kind of scenario. So super excited. So I've been watching. So the last few days, I've been watching those movies that I bought, and I've been going through them and all these things. And as an avid movie fanatic and as an avid collector, it's easy to buy things and you get to the point of where you might not watch all of them. You just kind of buy them, and everything becomes this big giant pile of movies. Like right now, I'm currently running out of shelf space, and so I'm trying to figure that out because I've been buying more and more movies, and it's been awesome. But I have been running out of shelf space. But I notice it's very easy for me to, which is common, to forget about a movie that I bought, say, a month ago or two, and it kind of gets put at the bottom of the pile, and then I buy these other movies, and then I end up not missing. I end up not watching some of the movies that I buy, and I don't like to do that. I try to all the movies that I review on this channel, with the exception of me going to the theater and doing reviews from that experience. Every other review that I have on this channel are movies in my personal collection. So usually I will, typically I'll do a review on a movie, fresh off the heels of just watching that movie, for the first time after I've bought it, or I've seen it a few times and I'll watch it again, and then I'll be all fired up, and then I'll do the video. That's typically what I do, but I typically try to always watch. But it happens, and it happened again recently where I was like, oh wait, there's quite a few movies. I've been buying all these movies, but there's quite a few movies that I bought that I've had for a longer period of time, and I just haven't watched them. So then I try to do this thing of like, okay, I'm going to discipline myself and watch these movies that I'm buying, and then do shows on them, especially if I'm really excited by them. And so the other night I was like doing that, and I've been watching, movies that recently I was watching the movies that I bought at Goodwill. And it was funny because I was sitting down, getting ready to kind of unwind at the end of the day, and I was like, okay, what do I want to watch? And I was like, you know what? I really kind of want to watch. I was gonna watch a more big budget Hollywood movie, but then internally, I was like, kind of like, no, I really want to watch this. I want to watch low down, some low down and dirty exploitation movies. So I was like, ah, and it was weird. I was kind of torn. I was like going back and forth as to what I wanted to watch. So then I decided last minute, okay, I'm going to watch one of these newer exploitation movies that I just bought. And I was like, this is amazing. This is awesome. This is exactly what I needed. This was totally fun. And it started to occur to me on on the situation of trying to address some of these feelings I've been having about these two worlds. Meaning two worlds being the bigger, large, the large budget, the big Hollywood movie experience, you know, aside, and also the super, low down and dirty exploitation experience. And when I watch, like, again, when I just discovered 42nd Street Forever, his channel is amazing. 98% of what he covers is all exploitation movies. He did this one really funny show, what he called his normal movie show, where he showed movies that are way more commercial, that more people have seen. And he's like, yeah, I do all of these cover, I make all these videos. Basically, he was saying, I make all these videos with all these like totally skeezy, dirty, grimy, reviews, or coverage of all of these dirty, grimy, sleazy movies. But I actually do watch like quote unquote normal movies, and it was really funny. And then he made a video, basically telling his audience, he's like, no, I'm not just, I do watch like normal movies, and it was really funny. And I've always felt, yeah, obviously there's a huge distinction and between the genres, but there's times where I, like lately, I've been watching some bigger Hollywood movies, and again, I don't think of them. I think a movie is a movie. Art is art. If it resonates with you, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter the budget, the size of it, the scope of it, but if the story or the film or that art just kind of resonates with you in your gut, you know, it doesn't really, there shouldn't be any discrepancy or discrimination against that particular genre. It's like that one famous music quote, by Dizzy Gillespie, when he was talking about the famous trumpet player, and he was talking about the idea of what genre is. And he's like, well, and he was talking about in this interview where he was being interviewed, and he was talking about how he loves so many styles of music. He's a jazz trumpet player. Was one of the most famous jazz trumpet players, but he in this interview says like he doesn't just listen to jazz, he listens to all kinds of music. And he said at the end of the day, he listens to everything, but for him, the only thing that he uses as a guideline really was like, there's either, there's either good music or bad music. It doesn't really matter, he doesn't really think in terms of like, oh, genre specific. It's like, it's good or it's bad. And that's kind of how I feel when it comes to art and film and music and everything that I find really enjoyable and inspiring. That's to me, that's where it's at, and that's really, all that matters at the end of the day. But lately, I've been like getting this feeling of, even though I know again this it won't ever happen, but it's funny. Lately, I've been getting fatigued and really tired of big Hollywood movies, um, in general, and it feels funny to say that, but kind of, uh, I don't know, kind of liberating in a weird way. And the reason is I don't know, like when I throw in a horror exploitation movie, or just a real low budget exploitation movie. Case in point, I'm gonna be doing a show on it very soon. I watched a trauma film called Blood Hook last night, and this is a newer movie that I just bought. I had never seen it before, and then there's another movie I just watched recently that I just fell in love with. I watched it twice, and it's another horror exploitation movie called Curse of the Blue Lights, and I was totally blown away by both of these movies. Just totally fun and exciting and enjoyable. I, just it was just great, just totally fun. And so the thing that I have, why I feel sometimes this way about quote unquote Hollywood, bigger budget Hollywood movies. Movies like, for example, movies like, well, it just won Best Picture, but Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan's last film, which, again, is a pretty magnificent film. I got to see it in the theater. I did a big show on it when I saw it over. When did it come out? I think it came out in August of last year now. And I did a big review on it. I did a big talk on it. I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan overall. But so this Oppenheimer, and then Killers of the Flower Moon was another movie I saw in the theater, which was the latest Martin Scorsese movie, which was really, really pretty incredible. I do want to see it again. That movie has been really, talked a lot about, especially with the Academy Awards that just happened. And there's been a couple other movies that I saw. And lately I've been watching some of those kinds of films home with the exploitation movies. And it's funny, even though I think those movies are just terrific, and I try not to discriminate based on style. I just kind of think in terms of like if it resonates with me. Getting back to that Dizzy Gillespie quote, which I kind of butchered, but getting back to that same kind of thing. It's either good or it's bad. If something resonates with you, it resonates with you. It doesn't matter really what style or what you know. It's about if it moves you for those 2 hours. But I keep, so like the last day or two, I've been coming away from this feeling about that more and more, and it's where I feel like I love exploitation movies because to me it's pure escapism. And I feel like in this crazy time that we're living in, that escapism is even more um, needed. I think it's like movie therapy to me, you know, and to a degree, it kind of holds up. Those movies kind of hold up a mirror to the society that we live in that is, kind of fucked up, and where you need to kind of question everything, and it's so absurd, it's surreal, and it's completely and utterly ridiculous, you know. So it acts as this like cathartic thing in on a lot of levels for me, as far as just dealing with this, strange world that we live in. And 42nd Street Forever, he was talking about this very same thing about exploitation, of where, it has, the world of exploitation has this bad reputation for people sometimes because, well, that means, you know, that you're into violence against women, you're into movies about rape or Nazi exploitation, or that you are this vile, disturbed individual that likes, if you like these films, that means you're in return a vile antisocial person. And but I think that's hilarious, and it's all, at the end of the day, these are just movies, and but to me it just gets back to it's pure entertainment. And he was talking about that, where this world is crazy, and these movies just totally reflect that, but they're total, uh, you know, total and absolute escapism from that, and it's fun, and it's about escaping this kind of ridiculous reality sometimes that we have. And so it goes to the heart and source of really why we watch movies and why, you know, uh, it should be encouraged to dive into the exploitation world even more, you know. And he made all these great points, and it was like, this is really awesome. Like, this is it, you know. This is I completely agreed with him 100%. And so, like, again, with bigger budget Hollywood movies, like the thing that started bothering me, or the thing I started thinking about more and more, was I get fatigued. I've been getting fatigued watching some of the bigger budget Hollywood movies, and some of the reasons at face value that I think about why that happens is, you know, especially nowadays, the budget for a lot of these Hollywood movies that are coming out is just like, it's jaw dropping, you know, jaw dropping, like millions and millions of dollars. I mean, it's just, I mean, for the production alone of these films, and then also for the promotional use. I was seeing some figures around Killers of the Flower Moon, for instance, like a massive, massive budget, and then almost the same amount used for the campaign to promote the movie. Like, just like, to the point of where, and I understand Martin Scorsese is, you know, one of my favorite directors, and I think it's Killers is an amazing movie. But when I was reading this article about the numbers that were used, and that the you know that were thrown around as far as how much they're using, how big their pool of money, the resources that they're using, the financial resources that they're using for their films, or for this film, I was like, oh my god, like that's fucking insane. Like, how the hell, like, I it kind of turned me off. It kind of turned me off to a degree, to be honest. And I'm like thinking of, like, well, if you took not even half of that budget and gave it to, say, a director like, you know, Jess Franco, or like Herschel Gordon Lewis, they could make literally 1,000 movies for that, you know, for that check. I mean, just, you know, insane. And so one of the things that I initially face value have just gotten turned off about with Hollywood movies is just the insane amount of money that is used to make these movies. It's just it's kind of staggering, and even more so now. Like, I mean, if you took the budget for Oppenheimer and, say, Killers of the Flower Moon, you probably $2 billion, just two movies alone, as far as the production value, production costs, and the promotional campaign. You know, and I'm not detracting, and I'm not bad mouthing, or I'm not, you know, trying to smear these movies, because I think they're really good, but it's just to the point of where it's absurd, the amount of money that's used and that's made, and how they just have no limitations as far as that goes. So it's like the financial reason, you know, the financial backing of a lot of these films kind of turns me off, because it's kind of the point where it's absurd, and it's almost kind of gross. And the other thing that I get turned off by more and more with a lot of these bigger budget films is that everything is so fucking serious. Everything is serious. Everything has got to be overly dramatic and meant to be taken literal, and it's all like really heavy and very, very serious, and it's got to always like have a statement, and it's got to have a message, and uh it's got to be poignant. It's got to be, you know, always making its point, you know, and it's like always serious, and it's always heavy, and I get it, you know, I get it. Like, if you're going to tell a story about a real horrible, you know, incredibly dark period of American history. Of course, if you're gonna dive into that, or if you're gonna dive into a biopic, say about a very controversial historical figure who's very complex, it's a you're gonna have to tackle it that way. But overall, I just feel like so many of these Hollywood movies are just the the budgets are just way too bloated and too big, and they're all just like really, really, really serious. And it just like after a while, I see that more and more. And it's always been a thing, but I've been seeing that more and more. Even if it's with films that I really love, I've been it just seems everything seems so overstuffed and everything is serious and just like in your face about what they're trying to say or what they're trying to do as the filmmakers. And it's been kind of this thing of where it kind of turns me off. And then part of me is just like, I just want to throw in a really dirty, grimy exploitation movie because it's fucking fun and it's pure entertainment. There's tons of exploitation movies that have a very serious tone, or they do have, to a degree, some degree of like a social commentary. But it's still like, it's entertaining. It doesn't, that's one of the things I love about filmmakers in the world of exploitation is even if you take a director or a film that is super uber serious, there's still an element of where there is I don't know, they're not taking themselves all that seriously. There's it's not all so heavy-handed, but yet they can get their message across. And then on the somewhat of the flip side, a lot of exploitation movies have so much kind of like comedic relief to them. Meaning maybe it wasn't intentional, but it's the low budget nature. Maybe the acting isn't terrific. Maybe the editing is weird. But it all adds to the charm of the experience. And you have movies that also obviously have like I use for example, Curse of the Blue Lights. Amazing film. It's a black comedy too. It's got some serious, horror elements. It does have some dramatic elements. It's got this amazing atmosphere, but it's not meant to be taken so serious, And so that's what I love about those films. Is it's really good, healthy form. It's the best for me as far as films go. It's the healthiest form of just pure escapism. And so I've had thoughts of where I don't want to cover any more big budget Hollywood movies. I want to just focus on movies that really get me excited and movies that, for me, at the end of the day, is the reason why I watch movies, and that is the world of exploitation. And watching this newly discovered channel, 42nd Street Forever, and also what Mood 616 does, I have thought seriously about making that big transition and only covering exploitation movies, and just going that route, and just kind of saying fuck you to Hollywood and just focus on my favorite and my most cherished genre of filmmaking. But that being said, I know that won't happen because I I love all styles of films. I love all genres of films. There's good and bad in everything. I try to have an open mind, and I feel naturally inclined to. That's the environment that I am drawn to. That's my natural habitat. Even though, like I've said many times before, we are creatures of habits, or we have our particular things that we kind of always go back to. We always have like our jams, if you will, a certain kind of style or something that we always kind of go back to. Um, so I won't actually ever do that. I won't ever be, take this exclusive kind of stance or draw a line in the sand, saying, "Well, I'm only going to do this," because I don't want to. I think that at the end of the day kind of narrows the scope, and is is that label would be too big for me to use, and um, it would do this thing of where it would define the channel and define me too much. So I don't really, so that won't actually happen. But I wanted to make a show just kind of addressing, for what it's worth. It is what it is. My feelings about it, and it has significantly gotten much stronger as far as like how I view those two worlds. And I have actually thought of doing that, but it won't happen because I love. At the end of the day, I love so too many different kinds of movies and two different styles. Again, my favorite will always be the exploitation world, and I firmly believe at the end of the day, um, in that very cliche thing, but I truly believe variety is the spice of life. So that is the my that's what I run on. And so I won't take that stance. But it is something I think about. It is something that comes up recently. It's come up more and more, and it's interesting. It's a very interesting thing. But it kind of just reinforces, for me personally, what I really love and how I like to try to spend my time, and to a degree prioritizing certain things. But I won't do that. I won't do that because that will be at the end of the day, and in the big picture of things, it will be too limiting, and that's just not who I am. So, but I just wanted to make a show about those kinds of feelings and those observations. So, and anybody checking out this video who has similar feelings or any, anything that they'd like to add to the conversation, uh, that is greatly encouraged. So thanks again. This is Jason Dean, and we will see you next time. Peace.